So today we're looking at learning outcome 3, which is understand the interaction between popular culture, society, and the individual. And there's 3 assessment criteria in here. So 3.1 is explain the nature of popular culture by examining distinguishing characteristics. 3.2 is to discuss current trends and probable future directions for the popular culture. And then 3.3 is assess the future importance of the popular culture to society. So those are the 3 points we're going to cover.
Right.
So for 3.1, explain the nature of popular culture by examining distinguishing characteristics. We're just going to be looking at what popular culture is and how we can actually understand it. So when we look at popular culture, it's just like a set of products. It's your practices, it's your beliefs, it's the objects that you might have and refer to. These are the things that, dominate society.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, the effects and influences of this is that for people, is that it comes across like these sets of objects or beliefs. So you can have things like music or dance or movies or fashion. So depending on what your culture is, your fashion will be, adapted in accordance to that. The music that you listen to, the food that you eat, the dances that you do, even the books or the religious material that you read is going to be determined by your own cultural beliefs. Now, the term popular culture was actually coined in the 19th century. So before that, it didn't really, popular culture, the term that they used wasn't about. So when that was coined, they thought that the popular culture is like, it was completely hard to define. But now we actually have a context on what it is and how we use it and who the people that are using it. So it's all just got to do with your society and the culture that you, adapt within that. So when we look at it, it is viewed literally. It just means the culture of the people. So with it being the culture of the people is generated through your day-to-day interactions about how you engage, the language you use, what beliefs you have, what rituals you follow. So just your day-to-day lives and the day-to-day rituals that you actually follow.
So it includes like the festival of the different type of people religions, right? Like Christmas,
Yeah.
Everything included.
Yeah. So because like Christmas, Eid, Diwali, those are religious observations, they're religious holidays. But even within them, you've got different cultures and different adaptations that might not really be religious, but it's something that you've adopted over time. So even like, family to family, things differ. Like when is Eid here? I know it's tradition. I mean, that you cook something sweet in the morning. And in my family, we cook savia, and this is what we've done every single Eid, every single offshoot, every single separate household within my family. That is what we cook. And I know there's other neighbours of mine that will cook halwa or, different things. So it's just what you've adapted within your own household.
Right.
So historically, when we looked at popular culture, it used to actually be associated with poor people or lower classes. So people that were not educated or they had an inferior culture. So when you looked at those people, that's what they thought. This is what popular culture means. But now it's not that discrimination has been finished. It's that popular culture is accessible to everybody. It's termed as just something that you do within your own life. Popular culture is actually heavily influenced by the times that we're in now. So especially by media, that really influences what we do, what we wear, how we behave, what is and what is not acceptable within society. So these collection of ideas actually permeates your life within an everyday basis.
Right.
So popular culture, it has a way of influencing your own attitudes towards certain things. So you might find certain types of people acceptable. You might not find some people acceptable. You might not want to associate with certain groups, even with doing certain things. Like it might be acceptable for certain groups to, go out and go and drink alcohol or go into nightclubs or stay out late. With other groups of people, that might not be acceptable. They might want you to be at home more and not partake in these activities. So it really depends on your own cultural beliefs. So popular culture is quite is you can actually define this in a lot of ways because it's something that can be defined in different ways, but it can be conflicting for different people. So things that I might follow might not be something that my neighbor follows or one of my colleagues does. We might have different types of traditions or different types of things that we do, or even languages that we follow, or certain acts that we do, which somebody living across the street from me might not do. So popular culture is defined in a way that it's culture, that society is leading you towards doing certain things. But that doesn't mean that you and your next door neighbor or the person you work with all follow the same rules or all follow the same styles.
Right.
Then the last style on this. So it's generally viewed that in contrast to other forms of culture, such as like folk cults or working class culture or high culture or high society. So when you look at popular culture in the West, it's been critiqued for being a system of commercialization. So that in a way really refers back to media again, how that actually affects you. Now, what is believed is that commercialization is coming from the upper class elitists or the people that can afford to influence these things. So the people that maybe own certain companies or have enough money to run certain groups. So when I'm saying that to make it into an easy way to understand, is like big corporations like Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. All of these companies are maximizing from this because they can influence you. They have that media there where they can put things across. Yeah. So that was just for 3.1. So we looked at different natures of popular culture and the different characteristics. Are you okay with this point, or would you like to ask any questions?
No, ma'am. Completely fine with it.
Fantastic. I'll go on to the next. So 3.2 is discuss current trends and probable future directions for popular culture. So we're going to look at cultural globalization on this, and I'm just going to read this little section here. So cultural globalization refers to the rapid movement of ideas, attitudes, meanings, values, and cultural products across national borders. So what this means is that it's referring to the idea that there is a global and common monoculture. So this is being reinforced by the internet, by entertainment, by marketing of particular brands, even of tourism as well. So all of this cultural globalization actually transcends your local cultural traditions and your lifestyles. So it shapes the way you look at things. It shapes what you're aspiring towards. You might be somebody who enjoys experimenting, so you want to go to different countries, see what their culture is, and maybe taste what their different types of foods are. So it really brings you all of the different parts of the world. It brings it to your doorstep, really, within media, because you're able to sit at home, you're able to go on the internet, book your holidays, or watch programs on the TV. So within that, culture is getting pulled in and it's more accessible now. And then we're going to look at development of popular culture from a local to a global level. So we're going to look at a few points like food and sports and so on. So when we look at food, there's a globalization of food. So there's big brands like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, KFC, and Pizza Hut. They're everywhere now. Whichever country you go to, there is at least some type of example of these brands there. So food consumption is quite an important aspect of culture, and most societies around the world have diets that are different, that is unique to them. So there's something that, like in America, portion sizes are always very supersized, and that's the norm for America. If you were to compare, I've seen a few videos and things where you're comparing American-sized McDonald's to UK-sized McDonald's, and there's an enormous difference in the sizing of them. So that's become the norm for them. So the spread of all these corporations is led to the decline of local diets and eating traditions. I know that when I've been on holiday with my family, a few times when we'll try the local cuisine, we'll me and my husband will love going out and trying different foods. But my children will see a McDonald's and they'll go crazy, or they'll be like, "I want to go into this KFC, get me this burger or get me this." So it, for them, that's they're not happy to try other foods. They want to go for what's normal to them.
Right. So this is how the tradition will change in future.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it really is in a way that, where home cooked foods, you can do daily home cooked foods, and maybe everyone will eat them, but they're not going to enjoy them as much as, say, if you get a takeaway, because that's something that's imagined as a treat, but then you're not getting that same health factor, are you, within that? So arguably, it's got like a lot of downfalls to it as well.
Right.
Then we're going to look at the globalization of sport. So just things like international supporting events. So you've got the World Cup, which is extremely popular. Cricket, people travel from all over the world just to follow their favorite teams. If there's an Indian team, Pakistan team, England team, they'll be following them. They want to go to all their matches, and they're willing to spend that money to go in for a couple of days and see that match. So it really does bring millions of people together, either through TV, getting, doing pay-per-view just to watch specialized events. So you're paying extra on your TV services, or even just going in and buying a ticket. So it's a very big community, but it's also a very big money maker as well.
Sure.
Then commodification. So when we say commodification, this actually means it's the transfer of anything really, like goods, services, your ideas, your information, things like sports, movies. So what this means is that any type of object or any type of service can be made into something that can be traded, that can be sold. So when it goes from tickets to food to clothing to anything that you need on a daily basis, to be honest. So we've got in Schiller's Commodification of Culture theory, he states that viewing information as something to be sold can explain the simplistic and similar products in the media. So when I think about viewing information, even things like you might get cold calls where you're getting called on your phone and somebody's saying, "Oh, I believe you had an accident," or they're trying to get a survey of you, or they're trying to sell you something. So even nowadays, your basic information, your name and your phone number is being sold. So to different companies who are willing to purchase them so that they can try and get information out of you.
Right.
So that really highlights that anything is available for sale now.
True.
And when we look at commodification, one of the characteristics of this is that it takes into account the commercial dimension. So it looks at anything that can be commercialized, but then it also looks at the privatization as well. So it's looking at any information that, like I just mentioned, that can be sold to companies and that they can target you in a more focused way. And then some examples of this is how information is put into the stream of commerce, so as private goods. So things like, how they can get sold and how you can get a profit out of these. So Apple products are extremely popular at the moment. Things like you might see around about Christmas or any celebrations, depending on where you are based. You'll notice that children's cartoons, when they have adverts, they're all advertising children's toys, children's clothes, expensive shoes. So, you're getting pushed into buying the best toys or the best gaming consoles that are available at that time. Things like branded clothing. So, when I was younger, branded clothing was something that I didn't even know about. We just went to our basic shops, yeah. But now, as my children are getting older, they like to purchase certain type of clothing and certain type of shoes, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just that they're used to these things because their peers, they see other children with these type of items, so they want the same type of stuff.
The marketing and product want to sell their items to their
exactly
in our culture.
Yes, definitely. And then there's within the UK here, there's like food retailers. Some are considered better than others. Like when I'll sometimes I'll go into Marks and Spencers as a treat, and it's not more expensive than any of the other shops. It's just that I've always viewed that as a posh shop. So we'll go in and sometimes we'll do like a bit of fruit or something special out of there. But really, if I go into Tesco's, it's going to have the exact same things and the exact same quality. So it's just what you end up considering personally as better than the others. So that was 3.2. We're going to make our way on to 3.3. Is everything okay for this section?
Yes, ma'am. Everything's okay.
Fantastic. Let's go on. And then for 3.3, we're going to assess the future importance of popular culture to society. So we're going to look at a couple of points now. So popular culture within society actually influences what you're buying. So really, it just follows on what we've been saying now. So it sorts out what sort of trends there are now, what trends there will be in the future. So you're looking at what will be popular, what will trend, and what will be the next big thing. So this is what popular culture will determine. Then we look at globalization and the technologies that influence on consumption. So how does this influence the future of popular culture? So when we look at social media, so things like social networking websites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of these, they've changed your accessibility dynamically. You're able to go on there and purchase goods. I was asked to buy a very long time ago, a few years ago, with somebody that I was working with. She used to work within the same environment as me, but she also used to was sewer, so she could make baby clothes, make children's clothing. So she asked me to follow her on Instagram, just so she could get her popularity up. So it's even these networking sites have become something that you can use to sell your services on now as well.
Of course.
Because before it was just a place where you'd catch up with old school friends, you'd watch a couple of videos, or you'd probably send messages back and forth. But now, if you're familiar with Facebook, there's even a tab where there's a marketplace, so you can actually sell your old household items or anything that you want to put on it. To be honest.
Right.
Then we've got online opinions. Now this is quite this can make or break your actual company itself. So whether you're a college, whether you're a business or anything. So you're always wanting to get positive feedback. You don't want negative feedback. You want brand loyalty. So there's discussion forums like Quora where you can say, I've been to this hotel and the staff were terrible, the hotel rooms were filthy and so on. So you can have, discuss with other people. Got wiki answers, Stack Exchange, Facebook questions. You've even got where's that site where you there's a particular site where you can put your feedback on, and if it's good feedback, your businesses will highlight it, and if it's not, then you can see what the problem was and try and fix it.
Right.
We've got mobile devices and payments, so you don't actually need to go out with cash anymore. You don't even need to go out with your debit card. You can just link your cards up to apps. So you've got Apple Pay, you've got PayPal, you've got Barclay paying apps. So there's a lot of different apps that you can do and just scan, and you've made your payment. So even if you forget to bring your cash with you or card, or it's simple, it's very easy for you to do in that way.
Right.
A lot of companies have actually adopted this now because they want people to have easy accessibility. They want to make the way it is. A lot of companies are trying to go away from cash transactions anyway because of COVID. So with having these type of availabilities, they're able to do that and make it more accessible. Then we've got stakeholders and how they influence popular culture. Now, there's lots of different stakeholders. Stakeholder is just somebody who has an interest in a particular thing. So it can be a person, it can be an institution like the government or the council, it can be an organization, so a school, a college, a business. It can be the local corner shop. So all of these help to influence society. Other stakeholders are like your families, your peer groups, media, and marketers. So again, all of these are just people who have an interest in a particular thing. And it could be anything from education to business.
Right.
And then the last slide for this is, what do stakeholders actually influence on? So stakeholders can influence, and these are like consumers. So if you're a person that's buying music, you like a particular type of person, you've got a favorite pop artist. They release an album, you'll buy it. They see that this album did really well with the ones that have got really nice, thoughtful songs on them. But the one that was overly happy songs, they didn't sell that well. So they're going to go towards the ones that sell again, and they're going to try and do the same thing. So stakeholders will influence on music, on what is popular at the moment. I know a couple of years ago we had these fidget spinners where they were the craze, and then everybody was wanting to buy them. Now you barely see them. So trends change. Stakeholders will actually influence on the policies and procedures within an organization. So this is where a lot of equality and diversity actually came into play, because they were seeing that people weren't hiring in a way that should have been done. There was a lot of discrimination going on. So policies and procedures, that's one example I can think of that gets affected. If there's a lot of heavy lifting within your workplace, you're going to have some sort of procedures in trend with that. So whatever you know that you use the most, what your organization needs, you're going to adapt. There. I've put music down 2 times. Yeah. And then we've got media. So you actually go on to, so when it's October time, when it's, what do they call it, Halloween? At that time, horror movies are really big. Even thinking about all these Avengers movies that have come out now, the first movie was very successful. The second movie was even more successful. And then they started coming out with a whole series of Avengers movies. They came out with an offshoot of it. So they saw, the people that were making them saw that Hollywood saw that, oh, these are really popular. Our viewers actually want these. So they carried on the trend with that. Because if it wasn't popular, they wouldn't have done it.
Right.
And then the government, again, is a stakeholder. So they've got an interest in a lot of things. So in regards to music, videos, and so on, they actually enforce censorship within music. So any rude words or swear words or anything that's not appropriate, they'll say that you can't have these things in here. They'll make sure that it's censored. And then they'll put in like legislations and then implement them. So like import, export policies and procedures, they'll make sure that what they've got, the rules are actually being implemented, that they're being followed. So that was 3.3. So we've looked at the characteristics of popular culture. We've looked at current trends like food and sport, and then and also commodities, how things can be sold. And then we've just looked at the importance of the popular culture to society and how stakeholders will have an effect in this. Is there anything you'd like to go over with this?
No, ma'am.
Fantastic. So that was all for today. Just to have a quick recap, because when you do get onto your assignment, which we will discuss in detail tomorrow, make sure that you do look at your indicative content, because it just gives you a very good idea of what needs to be followed when you're writing your assignment. So I'm going to turn the recording off.